Welcome again to Joe's Stunner Boxing. So Teofimo Lopez improves to 21 wins with 13 KOs, one defeat to George Kambosos. He defeats Steve Claggett of Canada over 12 rounds, wins just about every round. I think I gave Claggett 2 or 3 rounds. That was about it. A couple of the judges had it a whitewash. That was a little bit harsh on Claggett. But Claggett, this was his first world title fight. He turned pro in 2008, I think. So that's 16 years ago. First title fight. Came into the fight with 38 wins, 26 KOs, 7 defeats, 2 draws, but he'd never faced anyone even close to Teofimo Lopez's ability. I didn't do a preview for this. I actually kind of slipped my mind and I was busy as well. But the fight sort of did and didn't go the way I thought it would, because definitely Lopez totally took over in the second half of the fight, but Claggett was competitive for the first half. In fact, he was sort of competitive for most of the fight because of his style. And I was thinking beforehand, Claggett is a high output fighter, very, very tough guy. He's got a concrete jaw and he's got steel ribs, and he showed it against Lopez. Took tremendous punishment. Only once was he really buzzed. I think that was in the 8th round where he was shaken. The uppercuts were landing at will from Lopez. Tremendous effort by him. He was by far the slicker, by far the harder puncher and the more precise puncher and the more educated puncher. But I always thought Claggett would ask questions of Lopez early on because of his output, his industry. And he would throughout this fight, or certainly throughout the first 6 rounds, he didn't give Lopez a chance to breathe. Lopez spent a lot of time on the ropes, countering, slipping and sliding, defensively very good, was taking a few clips and was countering very, very well, as he always does, or usually does. But Claggett was making him work. And in fact, he was making Lopez far more punches than he normally does. And you were thinking early on the first 3-4 rounds, we've got 36 minutes here, we've got 12 rounds. So can Lopez fight at this sort of high octane rate for 36 minutes? He did. He definitely did. In fact, he took over, and of course, he slowed Claggett down. Claggett just fires so many punches; it's unreal. And he cuts the ring off well. He uses his feet well. He's 35 now, and he fights like a 25-year-old. He's extremely fleet-footed. He's always on top here. He's like, sauce over spaghetti. He's a little handful. But like I said earlier, the slicker stuff coming from Lopez by far, banging to the body really well. Claggett soaked it up. God knows how, but he did. There were some hellacious uppercuts with especially the right hand, but I think he used both hands. Both hands were used for the uppercuts from Lopez, but the right hand uppercut was a particular weapon that Lopez likes. As the fight wore on, Claggett became a little bit less active, and you could see it. You could really see the tide sort of gradually turning. Not that Lopez was in any great trouble in the early rounds. He wasn't, but although I did give a couple to Claggett on just work rate, but you always got the feeling that even the odd round that I gave Claggett, I thought Lopez is winning this fight. He's going to come on strong, and sure enough, the tide turned, and the second half of the fight completely dominant by Lopez. I think he kind of more or less took the last round off, and Claggett was still trying at the end. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this guy. This was his first world title shot in 15, 16 years of being a pro fighter. And you've heard the expression, leave it all in the ring. Well, that's what Steve Claggett did. I thought it was a tremendous effort. Lopez afterwards talked about moving up to 147. He said, my body's growing. I feel I can do a lot of damage at 147. Okay, fair enough. I mean, 140 has gone up in the air a bit, hasn't it, because of the Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia situation. Subriel Mateus was surprisingly beaten, in many people's opinion, by Liam Paro. Paro made a star of himself with that win over in Puerto Rico. Brilliant win for Paro. Unifications, I mean, Lopez has won so many belts. well, afterwards he was saying, I want to win more belts. He must have a big house to keep all those belts in. But he's a very, very good fighter. And against this type of guy who will come at you, come forward. I mean, Claggett with his, 38 wins, 7 defeats, 2 draws, it looks like a bit of a patchy record. He's only been stopped once, and that was years ago. And I was a little bit surprised that he lasted the distance with Lopez. The question mark, I suppose, if there is one over Lopez, is the power, because he couldn't get Claggett out of there and didn't really come close to doing so. Whether he was trying to get him out of there, I think there were little pockets of little 20-second, pockets of activity where Lopez was really banging the body to head, head to body, and trying to get Claggett out there. But when he realised that the guy just had a steel jaw, he thought, the hell with this, I'll just box. And he did. But he likes people to come at him. He's a very, very good counter-puncher. That's probably his natural style, Lopez. He's a very, very good fighter. 147, I'd like to see him maybe go for a unification at 140 first, mop up some belts. But if he goes to 147, the guy's got, by the way, I talk about Claggett having good resiliency. Lopez also has, as we know, has a very good chin. So at 147 with Bud moving up, the belts go free. 147. I'd watch him. I'll watch Lopez at any time because I think he's an entertaining fighter. Against movers, we saw that against Sandor Martin, which I thought beat Lopez. Against movers, he can be left hanging a little bit. But when people come at him and they try to be front-footed, he'll soak it up all night and counter with, pay it back with extra, with interest. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Lopez does next. Claggett at 35, that might be his only chance at a world belt, but he's got nothing to be ashamed of, did very well. What did you think of the fight? Comments below as always. If you like the video, please hit the like button. And if you're new, please subscribe to Joe's Son of Boxing and spread the word. I always appreciate your time, and I'll catch you later. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.